Ravens face the Seahawks this week. Earl Thomas goes back to Seattle. The Ravens face the leading MVP candidate and a 5-1 team in one of the best home field advantage in the whole NFL. Can we win this game? We're going to discuss this and a couple of things more coming right out. Hey guys, my name is Sunny. Welcome to szg Sports. If you love some Raven content and you're not a subscriber, please subscribe now and hit the notification button so you can stay up to date every time I do a live stream or upload a video. Okay guys, this is the week. It's the week that everybody apparently has been talking about because this is the week that we finally face a team that is a winning team, right? We already faced the KC, although we lost, but we did that, right? Okay. So, as I stated at the beginning, 5-1 team, the leading MVP candidate, on the road against one of the best home field advantage. Can we win this game, right? That's what everybody's saying. Like, I shot this game as a nail at the beginning of the year, and I think it's going to be hard for us to win. But here, what I'm going to discuss is, what are the keys for us to pull this victory? And at the end, I'm going to give you my score prediction. Also, we're going to have NorCal in the Behind Enemy Lines episode. But before I go too far, I think this game is going to be set up. How much can we contain their offense? And I think we can. And then how much our offense can put points. Okay? So let's talk about this. Let's discuss the keys of the game on our defensive side. On defense, what do we need to do to win this game? Okay, so defensively, what I'm looking at is we need to make sure this team is contained. Now, when I say contained, they are 5th total offense. And when we talk about total offense, it's total yard offense. They are averaging just under 400 yards per game, 399. Who's first? The Baltimore Ravens, 450. Okay, so similar offense. But the question is on the rushing side. On the rushing side, they're 9th. So they're averaging around 130 yards per game. We need to make sure, so our first key, swallow that running attack. Make sure they should rush around 70 to 80 yards. If you contain them to 70 to 80 yards, now you're up to something, right? That means that Russell Wilson is going to be more one-dimensional, meaning the offense, not necessarily Wilson, the offense. So even though their passing attack is still decent, but still good, you're containing them and you can figure out what they're gonna do next, right? Second, if we beat the O-line, which we haven't done much, but if you do, you need to make sure you sack them. You have to sack Russell Wilson. You cannot whiff on the sack. You need to make sure you bring him down. It's important. Wilson is super slippery. He extends play. Don't allow that to happen. So make sure that neither Carson or Penny is running all over you, and then ensure the sack. If you beat your guy, ensure your sack. Okay, third, no big plays. And here is when I'm going to talk about Earl Thomas and if Peters plays. Peters, although he has sticky hands, he does get burned from now and then. Earl Thomas, I don't think he has had a bad game, a terrible game, but emotions are going to be running high for him. And he needs to control those emotions. Now, I'm saying play with the edge, play fiery, but don't want to make the play so bad that then Russell Wilson can just fake you out and you bite in that fate and just go sleep on you. So it's important for us to make sure DK Metcalf is solid. We can control him. If you think about it, right now their leading receiver is Lockett with 35 receptions and 454 yards. Do you put Marlon Humphreys on him? Well, I can argue that DK maybe because he's more strong and a bigger guy. But after watching all the stats, I think you should have Marlon traveling with Lockett. And if Metcalf starts to have a big game, then you switch it up, right? Because you want Marlon, the taller, physical guy, on your best receiver. Lockett is not big, but he's super shifty and quick. Now, Will Dissly was out for the season. That's their second biggest target, 23. Then you have Chris Carson. So, third point, big third point, linebacker. For Bohr or whoever's going to be playing middle linebacker, whoever the assignment is to cover that running back, dude, you need to shadow him. because Carson with 19 receptions, he's the third. And if you think Disley out because he's out for a year, he's second. Then you talk about DK Metcalf and the others, right? So make sure that running back, although we wanted to choke that run, make sure that running back doesn't leak. We did a really good job against Cincinnati, and for the most part, when we were talking about that running back leaking out of the backfield, Bynes, Ford, all of them did a fairly good job against that running back. So make sure that takes handle. So that offensive threat on the passing side, I'm worried about the running back leaking out of the backfield, but the receiver side, I'm thinking we is advantage rated with Peters and Humphrey, right? And then not having a good tight end, right, like a safety blanket. If you choke the run and you contain Wilson, meaning you try to collapse that pocket, and if you make sure you sack, because the problem is if you pass that O-line, you beat your O-line, and then you cannot sack him. No, now you open the floodgates for him to just pick you apart. Okay, so we need to contain Carson and running backs, hold Wilson and sack him. And third, that running back out of the backfield, you need to contain him. Fourth, no big plays. And fifth, if we can, force turnovers. Well, Wilson doesn't have any interceptions. He's due one. This might be a good game for ET or Peters to have his coming out party and have a pick. So those are my keys on the defensive side. Now let's flip it to the offensive side. So this team, Seattle, is ranked eighth on the defensive side, on the passing side. And they are allowing 268.5 yards per game. So they are top 10 on the passing. And on the rushing side, they're allowing 92.8, which is 11th best. So the defense is solid. But something that I did notice was this team cannot pass rush. You know how we complain about the Ravens? This team is the same way. When we played the Browns, and I said one of the things that frustrated me the most was we couldn't get to Baker. Baker had a clean pocket. You know who had a clean pocket? Baker against Seattle. And most important, they couldn't rush Baker, not mobile. Can you imagine with Lamar, the threat of him leaving the pocket? They might be hesitant to just go for the sack. So, first, O-line, keep clean. Keep it clean, like in radio say, keep Lamar clean. If you keep Lamar clean, now that passing attack would be beautiful. Second, rush the ball. Lamar, if there's nothing there, rush the ball. That's going to force those linebackers to come up, and now you have even more opportunities for the passing side. Third, we need Mandrews to have a big game as he's having, and Hollywood, if he plays, to expose that on the deep end. But I need that third receiver. Who's going to be? Seth Roberts look decent. Willis need also do his thing. How about if Boykins comes in this game? I think offensively we mesh fairly well with them. If we run the ball, we set up play action because they don't have a pass rusher. Pass rush. They do have some pass rushes, but not necessarily a pass rush. So again, if the Browns they have a worse O-line than us, we're able to contain Baker, we should be able to do the same thing. Now, the guy that worries me, and you know who I'm gonna be talking about, is Mr. Boseman. Mr. Boseman is gonna get his problem. He is gonna get his false start, his penalties, all that crap, and we need to make sure he keeps an eye, or we help him when we're talking about Quentin Jefferson. I know, Maryland product, because as a D tackle, that's the guy that he's gonna be going against. I'm talking about Boseman, and Boseman. Dude, you need to just be better. At this point, you need to be better. Yes, you're decent against the run, meaning on the running block, but against the pass, you need to be better. So if he gets to hold Quentin Jefferson, and Quentin has 2 sacks, but okay, he's one of the leading sacks in the team. If you hold him, we're gonna be solid. We are gonna be solid. This game goes back to, in my opinion, our defense being able to hold this team to 21 points or less, and our offense to be able to score 27 points. If we can do that, we'll be good. Now, make sure, Lamar, if you run, they do have good linebackers with Kendricks and Wagner. If you run, dude, I know you don't slide, but try to slide or keep doing your thing on the outside. If you do these things, you're gonna be clean. You're not gonna have an injury, and we should come out of there healthy, which is very critical. So again, on the offensive side, keep Lamar clean, rush that ball, set up play action, take some of the deep shots, but also we need that third guy to step up. Snead, Boykins, or Roberts. One of them. You know Manders is going to do his thing. You know Hollywood, if he's there, he's going to do his thing. Lamar's going to run the ball. The Ingram, I'm expecting a good game for him. Who's the other guy? We need that other guy. So I did say this episode was going to have a behind enemy line. And here it is, NorCam. And I'm going to give you my score prediction on the other side. Take it away, Nort.
What's up, everybody? This is NorbCam coming at you. And I want to first thank szg.sports for allowing me to make an appearance on his channel to talk a little bit about this Seahawks-Ravens matchup coming up this Sunday. This is a huge game between the Seahawks and the Ravens. It's early in the season, but I think this could set the tone for the rest of the way, as well as potentially playoff seeding down the line. So a lot in this game. We're both near the tops of our divisions. And I think each team looking at each other is this is one of the biggest tests that we will be having so far to this date. So my first thought, and just what I've gotten to know about the Ravens from some Ravens YouTubers I've had a chance to talk to, and just from my own research, is that the Ravens and the Seahawks are very similar in the types of their strengths and weaknesses, and really kind of even the styles and philosophies I think are very similar. First of all, you got two teams, two very mobile quarterbacks, explosive quarterbacks. Lamar Jackson has been tearing it up with the read option and the RPOs, the read pass options, and he's going to be a challenge to stop for sure. We haven't faced a quarterback like him. You know, Kyler Murray from the Cardinals is quick like that, and he didn't have much of an effect on us in that game, but this is a different story. I think he's a totally different beast in terms of how he fits with that offense and what he's able to do. So I think a lot of what we are feeling our strengths and weaknesses are very similar, and the concerns are probably on the number one thing on the Seahawks' minds right now is the lack of a pass rush. We've got two guys who we brought in the offseason, Ziggy and Jadeveon Clowney, to shore up that pass rush that we knew was going to be there, a vacated spot after Frank Clark left in free agency. And so far, the pair of those guys has not really amounted yet to what we were all dreaming it would become. Not to say that it can't get there, but so far in 6 games, we just have not seen it yet. So I'm hoping that maybe this game could be the game where we start to see it. But again, it's going to be tough against a very mobile quarterback. So our linebackers, KJ Wright, Michael Kendricks, and Bobby Wagner are going to have to really play some sound football and stay disciplined to not allow Lamar Jackson to run for big yards, whether in the read option or in scrambling. So defensively, that's going to be part of the challenge that we face. And then our secondary, while I think we've had pretty good cornerback play, still questions about our safety position. It's been kind of a little bit of a mix and match situation, and we've never really found who our identity at safety is ever since we lost Earl Thomas and Cam Chancellor, who were two of the best safeties in the game for a long number of years that we've had them. So looking ahead here, ironically, that we've got Earl Thomas coming back to CenturyLink Field, this time in a Ravens uniform. A lot of the talk here in Seattle is about the reception that Earl Thomas is going to get once he is introduced or anytime his name is mentioned in front of the 12s at home. It's kind of interesting. There's quite a mix. There's some people who hate Earl Thomas, for running into the Cowboys locker room a couple seasons ago and say, hey, come get me. And then, of course, the way it finished in ugly fashion in Arizona when Earl Thomas broke his leg and then gave Pete Carroll, we believe it was meant for Pete Carroll, the finger, as he was carted off. Not the best sight you want to see as one of your best players of all time leaves your team for the last time in a Seattle uniform. Not the picture you're hoping for, but unfortunately that's what it is. And so there's been a lot of speculation as to what's the return of Earl Thomas going to look like. I think more speculation about just how the crowd responds to him, less about what he's going to do on the field. I'm more concerned about what he does in the field, really, than what the crowd thinks. I'm not into booing players. I certainly don't like to boo one of my own. Technically, he's not one of our own now, but he has been, and he's been a big part of the success of the Seahawks. So I personally will applaud and stand up for the guy if the opportunity comes to recognize him. But once the game starts, he's on the other side. So I hope he will fail miserably and not get a hand on any of our any passes from Russell Wilson, and hopefully pull up and not chase down our receivers so that he doesn't pull a hamstring. That's my hope anyway, as far as Earl Thomas is concerned. As far as for Seattle, for those of you who don't know that much about our team, the Seahawks have some very good strengths, and they have some weaknesses that we have to be concerned about. The strengths of it are, I think the most obvious one was we have Russell Wilson at quarterback. Russell Wilson right now is probably, arguably, the number one front runner for the MVP right now as it stands. But just in terms of his gameplay and statistics and leadership at quarterback, he is having his best season in his career right now. I believe it's 14 touchdowns, no interceptions, 72% or higher completion rate. And yards per attempt is close to 10 yards. So he's not throwing at a high volume of passes, but he is throwing the ball with deadly accuracy and making the most of every opportunity he has to throw the ball. So he's been a fantastic leader at quarterback. Oh, and he's rushed for, I think, 3 touchdowns and has had 150-something yards running. So while he's probably not as fast and as natural and speedy of a runner as Lamar Jackson is, he can do very well. And he's never looking to run the ball, but he will take it when the opportunity allows it, usually late in games or late in halves. But Russell's always looking to throw the ball, and he'll only run it when he has to. And when he has had to, it's been for usually very good pickups. So having him there is always the calming feeling, no matter, even when I start to get worried about the Seahawks going into a game, I always remember we got Russell Wilson, so that's a huge plus for us. The other thing that we have going for us right now is Chris Carson at running back. He's had 3 straight 100-yard plus games so far, and he is running with an attitude. Ever since he shook off the fumbleitis that he had been dealing with for the first 2 games of the year, he has held onto the ball, knock on wood, for extremely well, and hasn't fumbled and turned one over since. So he's been huge for us, and I think Seattle's offense is best, and really any team's offense is best when it's a balanced one. So if he can continue to run for 100-plus yards and Russell maintains the clip he's at, that's a pretty deadly combination. Now, obviously, the key to any of that working starts in the trenches, and that's the offensive line. The offensive line has been banged up. We were really banged up last week against the Cleveland Browns, where we were missing right guard DJ Fluker and all-pro tackle, left tackle Dwayne Brown. Dwayne Brown, I believe, is going to be out again with that bicep issue, but I believe Fluker may be back, had been dealing with a hamstring injury he suffered against the Rams. But I think he is good to go. I got to double check that. I'm not sure the final injury report yet, but the rumor seems to be that he has been good enough to participate in practice this week. So I think we might get Fluker back, which is great for the run game. He's not the best pass blocker in the world, but everything's work in progress. So, and of course, we lost Will Dissly, tight end, last week for the season when he ruptured his Achilles tendon. Second time in as many years to have a career-ending injury early in the season. So unfortunate, because he was one of Wilson's favorite targets. So he's going to have to look elsewhere for guys to step up, other receivers and possibly other tight ends like Luke Wilson, who is slowly getting back into the groove. And we're bringing some other guys in back to help in that regard. So it's going to be a little different, but knowing Russell, he will find a guy to get it done for him. So offensively, I feel pretty good. Most of my concerns in this game are on the defensive side. Our defense has given up a lot of yards, both on the ground and in the air. And there are times when we give up explosive plays. We've given up some big run plays last week against Chubb for the Browns. He ripped off a pretty big one, and I'm just not yet feeling like we've got our secondary, where it needs to be. So, but my understanding is that Lamar Jackson, not necessarily the biggest throwing threat, but definitely on the ground. You guys, the Ravens definitely can run the ball both from the quarterback position and the running back position. So it'll be a challenge defensively. So what do I think of this game? Oh, wait, one last phase. Then there's special teams. Special teams can never be overlooked. So easy to talk about the quarterbacks and the running backs and the linebackers and all those sexy, glamorous positions. But let's not forget how important special teams are. And that became so evident last week against the Browns, where we had some major blunders again on special teams, gave up a kick return for like 70 plus yards on the very first play of the game. They made up for that by getting a blocked punt, which did lead to a field goal. So that was big. But then we had a punt where Michael Dixon had to kick it out of his own end zone and barely kicked it 25 yards. I think it was less than 25 yards. So that eventually wound up in a touchdown for the other team. So special teams definitely needs to get better as well. And just cannot be giving up big game-changing plays. Eventually that's going to come and bite us in the butt. So what do I think of this game? Boy, it's real close. Every game I feel like I'm calling close, but this one I predicted before the season started. I think I said 24-21, Seattle over Baltimore. Maybe a last-minute type field goal type situation. But I'm going to stick with that margin, and I'll stick with that prediction. But I have this hunch that it's going to be more. It might be more like, instead of 24-21, it might be 30-27. I don't see it getting that high, but I see them potentially getting close to the 30 mark. Now that I've gotten to know my defense, it's given up a little bit more than I'm comfortable with. So 24-21 might be being a little bit too optimistic on being able to keep the scoring down. But I will stick with that record just because my 2019 season prediction video in which I made that prediction was I'm perfect so far in terms of the record. We're 5-1. I predicted we'd be 5-1 at this point, so why change it now? So hopefully we become 6-1 and we win by 3 or more. But that is my prediction for this game. A narrow, close game, a lot of running, a lot of hard hitting, and a few big plays here and there in the air. And maybe one special team one to change it all at the very end. So that's my prediction. We'll see what happens. But thanks you guys for watching. And you can follow me on social media at NorbCam. That's Twitter and Instagram. And please feel free to subscribe to my YouTube channel, NorbCam. And don't forget to hit that notification bell. That way you'll be notified every time a new video comes out. And again, I'd like to thank szg Sports for having me on and to talk a little bit about this Seahawks-Ravens game on Sunday. It's going to be a good one. All right. Take care. Go Hawks.
There you have it. That's the guy's opinion. You can see the breakdown of him, his opinion, score prediction, all that. NorbCam is a really good YouTuber. If you haven't done and you like to follow YouTubers for other teams, he's a good follow on YouTube. Check it out. The description is going to be in the bottom of the channel. So, but I also told you here's going to be my score prediction. I think it's going to be a tough game. I think it's going to be a tough fought game. And this is what I have it. 21 Seattle, 24 Ravens. We just notched them. Tucker takes it, and then he becomes the offensive player, the special teams player of the week with a going away kickoff. Let's say like a 48-yarder. So the Ravens 24, Seattle 21. Guys, it is a tough game, but I think everything is set up for us to go to the bye 5-2. And if we go to the bye 5-2, I'm feeling good about myself. Guys, if you like this video, subscribe here. Also, follow me Twitter, IG, Facebook, and obviously YouTube at szg Sport. Don't forget, I'm trying to do every halftime show. And before you go, check one of the videos on the side. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.